Right, we are going to take a question from Socrates. A question can be set on Socrates like this. Examine the view that the philosophy of Socrates is directly opposite to that of the sophists, or the philosophy of Socrates is diametrically opposed to that of the sophists. Discuss. In 2010, it was put this way. The philosophy of Socrates is a direct antithesis to that of the sophists. Discuss. And I want you to understand that the philosophy of Socrates has every right to be opposite to sophists because Socrates has once learned under the sophists. And because he saw that the sophists' doctrine were not the best or was not the best for the society, he actually came up with his own. So expect to see that the philosophy of Socrates will disagree with what the sophists has actually said. Socrates can be defined as an Athenian philosopher who came from a family that the mother was a midwife and the father was a sculptor. Socrates is noted to be one of the most significant figures in Western philosophy. The Sophists were itinerant teachers who taught rhetoric, poetry during around the 6th century BC. It should be noted that Socrates differ from the Sophists in so many ways, but I'm going to give you two reasons in which they differ. Number one, according to Socrates, true knowledge can be attained. That means it is possible for one to attain true knowledge. Socrates is of the view that there are many methods, such as the dialogue method, which is questioning and response, Socratic irony, meiotics method. These are all methods in which one can be able to attain knowledge. Even the innatism method or the doctrine of innatism, which says man is already having knowledge implanted or inborn in us, which means that Socrates is of the view that true knowledge can be attained. But on the other hand, the sophists believe that true knowledge cannot be attained. They believe that if you cannot know for certain, you can only doubt. In their philosophy of skepticism, which means that they say nothing exists, the voice of Gorgias is that nothing exists, and if things can be exist, we cannot know them. Even if we know them, we cannot communicate them to others. Which means that they are of the view that true knowledge does not exist. Number two ways in which Socrates and sophists differ is the fact that according to Socrates, knowledge is objective. Objective here means knowledge is universal or standard. It means it is possible for people to share a common knowledge about something. For example, 2 plus 2 is 4 in Cameroon, in Nigeria, in India, in America. That's what we mean by objective or standard knowledge or universal knowledge. But according to the sophists, knowledge cannot be objective. It should be relative. In their relativism, they say knowledge differs from person to person, or knowledge is based on an individual's personal perspective or opinion. It means that if somebody says 2 plus 2 is 4, you don't expect another person to say 2 plus 2 is 4. Another person 2 plus 2 may be 5. It depends on the person. So anybody is correct the way he sees something to be. This is, you give one of these points for the fact that the sophists and Socrates were diametrically, or they were different. They were diametrically opposed or incompatible. But on the other hand, the antithesis of this view is that they were similar. Socrates and the sophists were similar. They were similar in the fact that they were all based on man and the society. They all had a humanistic approach to philosophy. There's a philosophy that is tilted towards man. They look at almost the same areas of philosophy, like epistemology and in ethics, and all these things surround man and the society, which means that the sophists and Socrates, they were actually similar. They were not actually opposed, but they had some similarity. They were also similar based on the fact that they all had one objective, and that is what? To spread knowledge, to deliver their society out of ignorance. They were mostly involved in impacting the youth with knowledge, and as such, even though they had different objectives in why they were sharing knowledge, but they had this aspect of spreading knowledge so extensively. In your synthesis, you are going to say they had differences and they also had some similarities within them, which means that they are different and similar in the angle at which somebody looks at it. And in our conclusion, you must conclude by saying that Socrates and sophists were actually more of, that is, they were mostly opposite than similar.